All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron.
I am Phil.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Zoe.
And we are out of order because usually Vicky's next after me, and then but
we're across from each other this time.
We've reoriented the studio to look more like a studio, and eventually,
brighter.
Yeah, it's brighter. It's more rainbows and unicorns.
It's more me, honestly.
Yeah, it's more
Like
comfy.
you're happy in your little cave. I'm like, I need light.
Yeah.
I need light.
Yeah,
I'm shriveling up. I need
sounds
light.
like the last studio was like a dungeon. Like, welcome to Thunderdome podcast. Oh yeah. It just sounds like it was a terrible.
I don't know.
experience.
It's like Witcher versus Zelda. No, that's too
Wow.
much.
That escalated quickly.
That's too much.
Yeah,
that was too much.
You just swerved into a ditch and then
I
you
like
swerved into the other
both,
one.
but one's it's definitely more bright and
Yeah, one of them has blood trails and the other one is the Nintendo product.
That's a comparison I did not expect
Yeah.
Vicky to make.
I take it back. Can we edit that?
She's
No.
she's not the gamer, but she nailed the.
Yeah, she got the gaming properties.
I'm a watcher.
Just
I'm a
the-
video game watcher.
The metaphor was a miss. The gaming nomenclature you got. The metaphor was, however, not so much. Okay, well, welcome to Nerds by Screenlight, where we're debating the merits of gaming metaphors at this point. So our opening question is, what adventures have you had this summer and or are you looking forward to? And Zoe and Vicky have one that they've recently experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went to it's called the Paint Mines. Mm-hmm. How do you say the town's name? Because I feel like I keep saying it wrong.
Calhoun, I think.
Okay. So yeah, it's like between Denver and Colorado Springs. So you kind of get like all the different landscapes. I feel like we got to experience everything.
Yeah, for sure. Like for our route driving out there, because we're all in the middle of the country, you drive through the middle of the country. You don't really see the mountains at all. You basically drive out in the middle of nowhere. But
And just hope.
I know, but I was like, there's a colorful canyon, I promise.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, you kind of go through like Monument and I-25 North going into Denver. We took the long way so we could get cheesecake. Yeah. And then we saw pretty mountains, and we saw a pollen storm. That was crazy.
Yeah, in Black Forest. That was really weird. I
Yeah,
loved
Zoe pulled up a picture and showed me, and the only thing that I could think of was like Aaron would know, like the rad storms and
Yeah, and
fog.
yeah.
That's what it looked
Honestly,
like.
it looked like fog that was getting too low, but it had a yellowish tint to
Yeah.
it. We were like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Be
Yeah.
careful, a
I
ghoul
just
will pop out
remember
of that.
Vicky being like, are there aliens?
Could I have that look? I was completely kidding,
Yep,
internet.
The aliens have chosen June of 2024 to
Yeah.
finally appear
You know?
after 30
Well, you know, if I
years.
show my students that picture, they would be like, oh, maybe.
Not expect to be able to actually walk into them. So that was really cool. And then going into the cave was probably my best experience, honestly.
Whoa, okay,
Cool.
that's a little loud, but yeah, perfect. Thank you.
But yeah,
There
I
you
would
go.
definitely go back, and I was even thinking about maybe taking our students next year. Be a cool experience.
It would be cool. What's great about it, internet, is that it's free and it's not crowded.
Mm-hmm.
There's limited shade. I used
Yeah.
to say there was no shade, and I've been corrected.
I was making
There's limited shade.
I told Zoe.
Wear
she-
sunscreen. Bring it
Yes,
with you.
Yes.
I told Zoe she should have brought an umbrella, and she's like, "I'm too cool for that." Like,
Basically.
Too cool for an umbrella.
You know, one of the teachers at our school has like an umbrella hat.
Now that's cool.
I borrowed it for like the last day of school. I was like, I need it.
an umbrella is not cool, but an umbrella hat.
Now
is
that's
you don't have to hold it.
I laughed at first, but the last day I'm like, Michael, can I borrow it, please?
between mixing our metaphors and the logic that is present on this program.
Hey,
we
don't
are-
make fun of the umbrella hats.
I'm not making fun of it. I'm just noting where we're going.
Michael's gonna come for you.
Bring it. Let's go.
I don't know.
Let's go. We'll see how
You know,
that
we
shakes
know
out.
his family.
Yes, we do. I'll logic. I don't know what I'll do.
I don't know. Get Aldo support you or something.
something. It'll be a street fight like the what is it? The Benny and the Jets, the West Side Story. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
dude,
that-
I know. I think of Elton John. That's where my brain goes.
Yeah. Now that we've done a sing along. 3 for
There's
3.
two musical people. in
Aaron
this
can't
room.
even today.
Yeah, I can't.
Payback.
just too much. Just too much.
All right, you guys should talk about adventure so far.
Yeah, eventually.
All my adventures have been in video games.
Yeah. So I went back. Vicky was mentioning I went back into Witcher 3, and I've been loving it. Witcher 3 actually recently opened up to the ability to have mods, so they opened up the modding community on
nice.
on Steam. So you have the Steam workshop now available for Witcher 3. And that's been a lot of fun. That's why I mentioned the blood trails. There actually is the blood trail option where when you hack and slash, there will be blood that will trail your sword.
Oh my gosh.
It's a mechanic. It's legit. I was like, wow. And this was a modder who put this together. So
Interesting.
there's not a lot of mods right now, but I suspect as time goes on and the modders really dig into The Witcher 3, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The Witcher 4 currently, from my understanding, is under development. They have assigned 60 developers to the project, and it is not going to be like The Witcher. It's not going to be a sequel. It's going to be a kind of a new Witcher experience.
Nice.
Which gives me hope. The one thing that I've watched, which you haven't, is the trailer for the next Dragon's Age, which they were formerly calling Dreadwolf, but now is being called the Veilguard. And the comments that I've seen after watching it, people are kind of worried that it's going into the cartoon aspect, very much Baldur's Gate 3, which has unsettled a lot of people because Dragon Age has always been designed to be like as real as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for it to go into like cartoony, almost battle royale Fortnite territory has some people.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a little.
I remember playing the old Dragon Age games. Like,
Yeah, and it's like real. It's legit. It feels real. It looks real. So there's some concern. And again, all we're seeing the gameplay comes June 11th. So we're going to see the gameplay reveal on June 11th, and then we'll really know what we're dealing with. And it's actually supposed to come out like this fall of 2024. So August 2024, Dragon Age the sequel's coming, and we're going to get to see it and deal with it.
Wow.
So I've been playing. It started off as I was playing this game called Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah.
It wants to be Dark Souls so bad,
Really?
and it's funny because the hardest thing in the game is the camera.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm playing it for a while, and I'm realizing like this sucks.
Yeah.
And then I go and talk to Zoe, and I'm like, I gotta get Dark Souls. Like
Yeah.
I need Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So she helped me out and got me Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
Which I've never played before, and I've been loving that.
Yeah.
Except when you want help with dragons.
Yeah.
So guess what?
I
I got
didn't-
some payback of go look it up.
I did. I watched Jacksepticeye has a full playthrough of the whole game.
Okay.
there
And I
you
watched
go.
up to that.
Honestly, that's what
You know what
Misty
he
and I
did?
were doing last night with Zelda. We were trying to figure something out. I'm like, you
Yep.
should Google it.
Yeah.
So
You know what he does?
Yeah.
He just runs by it.
Uh,
He runs
Well,
away.
go
I'm like,
run.
well, that's what I did. So
Run away!
So an interesting note, some of us, I think all of us are old enough to remember this or may have met whatever, but there was a time where you had to buy a video game guide.
Yep.
Yeah.
You couldn't go and you had to go to a video game store or a bookstore or like a Walgreens or a Walmart, and you had to buy a video game guide or a video game magazine because there was none of these helps available back in the day. Like,
And I was back in the day where you couldn't save a game. You had to know the code.
Yeah.
So if you want to skip ahead, you had to know the code
I,
and put it in.
I specifically remember having a guide for Silent Hill 1.
yep.
I had a guide for, my mom had a guide for the first Devil May Cry.
Yep.
I just love those things. Can we just talk about like how cool those guides were?
Mm-hmm.
I would read through those because I was too poor to buy the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like experiencing the game
Yeah,
by
you're,
reading the
you're
guide.
living it through there, yeah. Well, and what's interesting is that it's an industry that probably doesn't really exist as much anymore.
No.
Because you can just go on Google and literally you have PC Gamer, you have Wikipedia, you have all these game sites that have published these walkthroughs, and you have a lot more YouTubers who have done walkthroughs and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
So,
10-year-olds.
yeah, it's hilarious.
It's always the fifth graders.
Just like,
But it is. It's an interesting thing that the convenience of it is so fascinating, because 15 years ago,
Yeah.
it wasn't possible. You had to have really good internet to do it, or you had to go buy a guide. And I think I had GoldenEye at one point. Had a guide for GoldenEye, maybe. I did. I do remember buying one or two for my games that I was playing because I was struggling and I was just like, I'm not really good at this. They also had like cheat codes, so up, down, whatever. You could get cheat codes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that was the gold. Some say that was the golden age of gaming. And right now, I don't know where we're at in the age of gaming. Oh, Civ 7 is coming.
Yeah.
Civilization 7.
From some of the things I heard from the Xbox showcase today, Fable finally.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a new Gears of War.
Okay.
There's some other things too. They're making this was not from the Xbox showcase. This was from Summer Game Fest. Which was terrible, by the way.
Really?
But one good thing there that I saw is they're doing like a 16-bit Power Ranger beat 'em
Okay.
up game
Okay.
that looked pretty cool. Like if you got nostalgia for that, like which
Yeah.
I do,
Yeah.
it looked good to me. I'm like,
Okay.
all right,
There's possibility. So there you go. There's our brief gaming update from the
gaming
Nerd-
and adventures.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. We'll be right back here because we are taking on a classic, and it's
It's mad.
It's
the
yeah.
pun is intended.
Yeah, it's a mad world.
Yep.
The classic 1960s madcap
So mad.
film with
Wow.
a massive amount of stars.
Yes.
1963. So get ready, buckle up, grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab whatever beverage that you require to get through the next couple of however long this takes. Coming up next here on Nerds by Screenlight, it's a mad world.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please
I can stop.
talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
So there's so much.
And you took notes.
I did.
Yeah, I know.
took
I was
notes.
like, look at you.
Man, if I would have took notes, oh god.
Yeah.
Because we watched it on YouTube because it was free with
Okay.
ads.
Nice.
So it literally was 3 hours
Oh,
for
jeez.
us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I was taking notes, oh boy.
Oh boy.
So I got the plot pulled up right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that too.
And I'm just now realizing there is a dude's name is Ding Bell.
Yep. Yep. It's a fun one. All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron,
I am Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
and we are going into. So we had a plan, and of course, plans always have a habit of kind of going sideways or upside down or whatever you want to call it. We had a plan to do It's a Mad World together as a double feature with Rat Race, the movie that it was based on. It's Rat Race was based on It's a Mad World, but we Mad World is 2 hours and like
It's
40 minutes.
40
2 hours
minutes.
and
It's
40
almost
It's almost
it's
too
nearly
long.
3
Too long.
hours. It's a long one. It's got an intermission as well.
Okay, I was flabbergasted.
I know, I was too. And then Aaron starts telling me what intermission is, and I
Yeah.
bit my tongue.
Yeah, it's a
'Cause I
thing.
know what it
A
is.
lot of movies did this where they would have an intermission because they were so long.
For 5 seconds. And then it's
Well,
like,
so
Well,
It's
was
not like
probably
the Sound
longer
of
in the
Music
theater.
was an actual
Probably in
intermission.
the theater they would have paused it
Right.
and said, "Okay, intermission. Go do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Come back, and then we'll start the movie up again." So this movie is So let me just read you some of the names of the actors and actresses who are in this. And if you don't recognize them, then you probably need to watch some more movies if you're out there listening.
Old movies.
So Spencer Tracy.
Dang, I'm right here, Aaron.
you probably know more than you think.
Do you feel attacked, Phil?
I do. I'm just terrible with names. We know
It's
this.
I am
okay.
too. I'm better with faces.
Okay, well, I'm a names guy. I know my classic actors and actresses. So Spencer Tracy, Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Ethel Merman, Mickey Rooney, Phil Silvers, Jonathan Winters, Eddie Rochester Anderson. Who else is on this list? Peter Falk, Norman Fell, Stan Freiberg, Buster Keaton, Don Knotts. Who else? Carl Reiner, which is hilarious. Roy Roberts isn't really Nick Stewart. The Three Stooges,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're in
you
there.
pointed that out.
and then a couple others, Jimmy Durante, and a bunch of and Jack Benny. Just so many names, so many things. So there you go. That's just the There's a lot more names we could dig into, but this movie was, and this is how Hollywood operated: is they made these big, like, vehicles for stars, and It's a Mad World is designed to be kind of that massive star power running movie. So it starts in a way that you probably are not used to in your modern movies, with the craziest credits you probably have seen in a long time.
10 minutes.
Was it really 10 minutes
Yeah.
long?
Yes. I was
Yeah.
like, and at first it's black. I'm like, is it working?
Yeah, I had to fast forward like 2 minutes just for the credits to start.
I was like, what is going on?
Yeah,
I was into it for most of it, and then
I
kind of by
loved
the end I
every
started
little, I
scrolling.
loved every bit of it.
I thought they did a good job.
It was so this is the thing. We're so used to in this modern 2024 age that there are literally no credits sometimes, or there's just a very
They
limited.
save it to the end.
Yeah, or it's like aesthetically designed. But in the 60s, and even a little bit of the 70s, and even movies before that, credit sequences were important. those were a big part of a movie experience where you got to see the names.
But they're usually not interesting. The only other time I remember a credit sequence being interesting is Monty Python.
Yes,
That's fair.
Well, and that was an intentional kind of goof on the whole.
Yeah.
Credit
So with this
sequence.
one, I was like, well done. You're actually engaging me.
Well, it's also kind of in the similar vein of the Pink Panther movies. If you've watched those, and they have the Pink Panther doing his cartoon thing with the names and everything else like that. So they're aping that a little bit with that. But I don't know. I loved it from start to finish because it's very creative, the imagery and how they did it, because they had a lot of names to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of old school actors. Those if you just want to know the names, you need to watch that credit sequence because there are so many names on that. Okay, so we start with the car scene, and we don't know anything that's going on. I love movies like this because we have no idea, and we don't really know truly what's going on until about halfway through this thing, because we are like at a loss for what's going on. So the car is driving and he's swerving and he's going crazy. You're like, what is going on? And then he goes
Off a cliff.
Yeah.
and flips and flips and flips. And then
Over the top.
Yeah,
everything in this movie is over the top.
Basically.
What did you guys think about, like, so here's the thing. We're so used to CGI, right?
Yes.
Everything in this movie, aside from the obvious green screen, is practical effects.
I was doing
Well,
a
I
lot
was
of
asking.
I was doing a lot of gasping because I was just like, oh, it's real. I mean, they're stunt doubles, but sometimes they get hurt.
Well, I thought it was great, especially because like the time period,
Yep.
But there were some times where I'm like, that's a little off, because like there's a building that's getting torn apart
Oh
Right.
well, yeah.
by a certain character.
Yes.
And
That's when Justina walked in.
and
I was like,
and-
Tiffany, idea
and
what's going on.
Two people run into two different bathrooms, and he tears down the bathroom. But if you look closely, it's just a wall. It's not a room.
Yeah.
So they just ran through a wall that looked like a bathroom, and I don't know. But yeah, it's wild. You could tell that it was all practical.
Yeah.
And very thin
Yeah.
wood.
Yeah. It was built to be destroyed. What I love about
Yeah.
it is that there was a lot of work put into this movie. A lot of work.
Yeah.
But it pays off in the end. So the car goes off the scene, off the cliff, and then we have our main characters who are all driving to various points for wherever, and they drive up and they go, oh my gosh, what's happened? So you have Milton Berle, you've got Buddy Hackett, you got a bunch of guys who are classic actors. If you don't know who Milton Berle is, you're missing out on that man. So Milton Berle is a classic actor, and you got Mickey. Oh my gosh! So Ding Bell is Mickey
Ding
Rooney.
Bell.
Mickey Rooney, who is a classic. Buddy Hackett is Benji.
Oh, those two are fun together.
Yep.
That was like my favorite duo.
Yep. Sid Caesar is Melvin, and then Ethel Merman is Mrs. Marcus.
That's the mom, right?
Yeah, the most annoying.
I hate her.
Worst.
From the beginning, I didn't like her at all.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. We get those. We've got a bunch of that. We've got Dorothy Provine as Emmeline Finch, which she's one of the more reasonable ones.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, they all show up and they're like, "Oh my gosh,
Is he okay?
is he okay?"
Oh,
Is he-
then they ask you to go down there. They go, "Are you hurt?" And I was yelling at the TV. I'm like, "What do you think?
No, he's fine.
He's
fine.
gonna
Everything's
die. He's not dead already."
So they get down to him. They all get around him, and he's like, "I gotta tell you, there's this secret thing, and you gotta find it, and it's buried under a big
Big W.
Big W, the big W, and all that stuff." And then the longest death scene since Trinity dies in the last Matrix movie.
Oh my god.
But it's overplayed for effect because you're like, okay, is he?
And then when he finally goes, he
Kicks
He
the
bucket.
literally
Kicks
kicks
the
the bucket.
Probably
Yeah.
the one joke I like the best.
I laughed at so much, and then one of the guys is like, "That guy's dead."
No.
really.
No way.
Oh my gosh, it is fantastic. So they kind of are like, well, okay, and then the police show up. But are they really the police?
I don't know.
We don't ever really find out what their story is.
Yeah, they're sketchy.
They look like they're probably like agents of some kind, maybe. And they like when they
The police in this movie are sketch too. Let's
Yeah.
be real. There's not many trustworthy people in this
Right.
film.
Yeah. So then they're all like, they see the police coming, like, okay, we got to get our story straight. Do we tell them about this thing, or what do we do? And they're like, no, we just don't tell them. We don't want to get. I gotta go to Vegas. I don't want to get involved. I don't want no paperwork. Whatever. So the police guy shows up, and they are, as smart as they are, they're absolutely confused as to
Well,
what
and
to
they're
do.
terrible liars.
They are.
Like this is like how my students lie to me, and I'm like,
Right.
I know you're not telling me the truth.
Right,
You have one more chance,
right.
and the consequences won't be as bad. Let's try again. Usually they're like, okay, fine.
And it's funny. So Buddy Hackett's character goes, "Oh, it was about his aunt. He was telling me it doesn't make any sense." So finally, somebody comes up with a plan.
It's just a partial truth.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
didn't tell
he
that.
did start talking
Yeah,
about his
there's
aunt,
truth in that. Oh, well, he called him his aunt, and then
which confused me. I'm like, what?
So I think what it's a play on is like when in a lot of movies in that time and even earlier, when a character was dying in their last moments, they would think that the person that they were talking to was like a relative. Oh,
Yeah.
Is it okay, Aunt May? Is it good tonight? Can I go now? Is the word given? Is the family?
Does it
gonna
make
be
a
okay?
difference? Does it make a
Make a
difference?
difference.
Tell me it doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference, and then he just kicks the can. It's fantastic. I love these characters all together because each of them, in their own little way, there's a story.
Totally.
There is a history with each of these characters.
Yeah.
That if they had given it to us, I would have watched it. So let's work through this real quick. So I got to figure out. Okay, so Milton Berle is J. Russell Finch. His wife is J. Russell Finch, and his mother-in-law is
Mrs. Marcus.
Mrs. Marcus, and his wife
Emmeline.
is Emmeline
That sounds better.
Emmeline Finch. Okay, so she's obviously a little younger than he is. He's an older gentleman, and as we find out, and we'll spotlight the characters because that'll help us understand things a little more. So J. Russell Finch later on in this film, mom. Oh gosh, and you're right, Zoe. There is no way she is like her.
She doesn't have any redeemable qualities that I can
she
think
is
of.
awful to every single person she runs
Literally.
into.
Yeah.
She is mean.
I know at the end of the movie, I was like, please let that joke be for her. It needs to happen to her.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah, well, and what's funny?
And it was great.
It was.
What was funny is that when one of the characters was like, "I want to see you. I'm going to see you dead" or whatever, and I was like, so I've seen this movie a long time ago, and I was like, wait, does she actually die in the end of the movie? Because that would have been the best payoff to that whole narrative.
Trust us, internet. She's terrible.
This is a spoiler for later on in the podcast, but I thought they were all dying at the end of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, for real.
It should have. I
Yeah.
look at that going, he should be dead. He should be dead. He
Yeah.
definitely should be dead.
Yeah.
None of them are very good at the two who I sort of I sympathize with is Melville Crump and Monica Crump. So it's the dentist and his wife. Because they're money hungry, obviously. Like they want, but
Oh, I kind of like the guys of trying to fly the airplane. I like those two.
Benji and Dingbell?
Zoe does not agree.
okay, tell
Ooh.
us your feelings.
Well, and
about-
then I just remember that the pilot is the guy from Gilligan's Island.
oh, that's right.
Which one? Which guy? The professor? I don't know.
I think it is the professor.
Oh, I got it.
What is his name? Hold on, I'll look at. Oh, we'll look through
It's
this.
been so long since I've seen Gilligan's Island.
My favorite character is Pike.
Pike.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
Oh,
He's the one, the truck driver.
oh
furniture truck.
yeah.
I told Aaron
He's
that
the
if,
one that was destroying the building.
if Aaron
Yeah.
ever
Oh,
if Aaron ever snaps and loses his sanity, and you're in the same room as like the Witcher guys,
Yeah.
that's what you're gonna
Yeah,
do.
I'm gonna smash him. So yeah, so Lenny Pike, he starts them. So each of these characters has such an interesting. They're not all the same.
No.
Right? They're so different.
Yeah.
So I'll finish off with my talking about. So I love Melville Crump and his wife Monica because, for the most part, they're not trying to hurt anybody. They're just trying to get their money. Like they're trying so hard just to get there, and they spend most of the movie alone and on their own.
Yeah, on a
Yeah.
plane.
On a
Well,
plane.
they're pretty nice to each other.
Yeah, they are. There's not like the marital rancor that you see in other couples, and they they should have probably have died several times over in that
Yeah.
hardware store. There is.
The fireworks situation alone.
That guy.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm just like that plane that they took off in.
Yeah.
Not in
I
a
would
million
never.
and her,
years,
she
buddy.
went through there. I'm like, nope, getting off.
Yep. Yeah. So so you're right. So Pike, he's such a trusting individual, and
He
throughout
wants
the
things
whole,
to be fair.
throughout the whole first part of the movie, he's just trying to be fair. He's trying to be nice, and if you look at each of them, they all represent different kind of socioeconomic situations.
Yeah.
So Lenny Pike he's a truck driver. He's transporting people's goods. So he's not probably making a lot of money. He's kind of what people just, hey, you do this, I'll pay you this money, whatever.
Yeah.
And you get it to it safe. So he
works hard.
He works hard. He's probably not living a rich life. And so he's struggling. And so when that money option comes around, he's like, ooh, but he also is all about that fairness. He's like, oh, we gotta make sure this is all cool because we can't.
Man, that is one of the most drawn out, yappy conversations. Like them trying to figure out how to divide the money
Portion it out.
at first.
This is one of the few times. This is probably the only time I actually agree with the mother-in-law. I'm like, let's just split it evenly between the people.
Right.
Let's just do that.
But so what they do is
the
they
whole shares.
yeah.
17
It's
shares.
getting too
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my head.
Well, I love it because it shows how you can really overcomplicate something. How you can really just make it.
How to make a movie almost 3 hours long.
Right.
When in doubt, keep it simple.
Well, because the whole time I'm like, how can this be 3 hours? They're just going to one place.
And Rat
And
Race
then-
is not as
and then,
long.
And then the movie turned to you and said, "Hold my adult beverage.
Apparently.
Wait for this. It's coming." So I feel bad for him because he gets mistreated a lot. Pike gets
He's
beat
probably
up.
my favorite character.
Yeah,
Honestly.
he has a lot of moments where he finally gets his revenge.
Yes.
And he just, and
He's blown a gasket, but it is completely understandable.
yeah. So we've kind of gotten. I got to keep track of my two things here. Okay, so mother-in-law is nuts. These things happen, and I just was like, well, I wish that would happen to you, lady.
Yeah, she's like the today's equivalent of the is what it is people.
Right.
You're just another person that says this just happens. Well, stuff does just happen, lady. Like,
Right.
geez Louise.
It is what it is. I mean,
Like,
come on.
calm down.
Right.
She's way too loud.
She's like, oh, you got to control everything. And I'm just sitting there like, you're not even driving the
Like, you-
car.
you can't
You
control
don't have
things.
any control over anything right now.
Right.
Like, I hate to tell you this, but if you have the attitude of having to be in control, you're going to be a very miserable, stressed out person. So you
Yes.
got to let go. Got to let go of some things.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, you know what?
Yes.
Is that CD still stuck in your?
It is.
And- so it's now
yours
mine.
now.
It's now yours.
Pay it forward.
Merry Christmas and a
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year. My gift to you.
I can't.
So where are we
Forgot
at?
about that.
We got so much going on here. So they eventually decide every man for themselves. And they kind of back away from each
Low
other.
key, yeah.
Look at just when they go. And
And they
so-
don't go right away.
No.
They're just kind of watching each other like, who's
Yeah.
going to go first?
And then they
I just love it. I know we'll do Rat Race later.
Yeah.
But Rat Race is what I grew up with.
Yeah.
I've never seen this movie,
Right.
so like I can point out like few
Yeah.
connections, and then
Yeah.
we watched Rat Race again today, and it was like, like
yeah. It definitely pulls. Rat Race definitely pulls from this movie a lot.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So our truck driver slows down and pulls off because he sees them going and he sneaks up to see what they're doing, and of course they're all there. And then they say, "Well, what are we gonna do?" So they pull off and they start talking, and dividing, and everything else. Then they take off.
Can I just say, like, how did they not know the police were involved with this when the police were questioning them so hard about it?
Well, so
yeah.
they,
What did he say? Did he have any last words? Like, did he say anything profound? Like, what?
I was
what
like,
did he
this
talk-
guy's a wanted criminal.
Well, I think for them, they're just in the moment. They're like, we just got to get out of here. We got to get onto our things. We're going to our second honeymoon. We're going to this. Like they're so. But once that starts to sink in, oh my goodness, there is a lot of money at stake here. They get this tunnel vision where they're just like, we're going to go get this money, and they don't even think about the police anymore because the police don't have any of their names. They don't have any of their addresses or phone numbers because they're all like, oh, it's like, okay, we won't. But
And it's the 60s.
right, and obviously the police now have like got tracks on them, and because Spencer Tracy, our chief of detectives or whatever, has put tails on all of them and wants to find out where they're going because this is this is his character's big case that he has been working. This is Captain T.G. Culpepper.
I feel so sorry for him.
Big case.
15 years.
15 years. What we find out later, which we didn't know until this moment, because his wife is like, well, what's this case all about? What are you talking about this case? He's like, the tuna cannery business. And I just sat there and I was
Love that
like,
it's tuna.
Oh my gosh, it's all about the tuna. That's what this is all about. Some tuna-related subterfuge. So that just made me laugh even more. I was like, oh my gosh. But this movie layers it. It doesn't quite give you all the details you need to know. It gives you hints as to what's going on. So,
Yeah, because I was confused about the whole police and chief and
Right.
all that for the longest time.
right. So he's like the chief of detectives, or because the chief of police is the guy he talks to later
Right.
to get his pension figured out, which is another hilarious kind of moment. Milton Berle's character, and he continues this for the most part through the rest of this movie. He agrees to everything. He's like, oh, that's a good point. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Oh, yeah. No. He's just a parrot. And he's like this, if you look at his character, so he's got a crazy mother-in-law that he absolutely hates. Like, you can tell. He's just
And
like,
understandably so.
right.
Yes.
She is a monster to him and to his wife slash her daughter. She's masterful in that. But
She's rude to everybody. She's
She
even
is.
rude to the guy that's helping them, like the bridge man.
Also, isn't it they're like, isn't it? Oh, yeah, they're going away like to get away from stress. Why is she with them?
That's what I was yelling at the screen. I'm like, you should have gone by yourself. Leave the women at home.
right. Or leave your mother. Like, my guess is
Well,
that
the wife wasn't helping, to
Right.
be honest. She was like an enabler,
Yeah,
I think.
it's interesting so Emmeline, we're talking about the Emmeline character. She, by the end of the movie, has had it.
Which
She
good
is-
for her.
So obviously we're swerving a little bit around the plot here, but Emmeline is the wife of Milton Berle's and the daughter of the mom, and so she spends a lot of the movie defending her mother and being like, oh, how dare you do that? But by the end of it, she's in the truck and they're like, aren't you coming? She's like, no, I'm going to stay right here. I've had enough. I'm not doing it. And then later she comes out.
She gets water.
She gets water and she figures out the clue, and then Spencer Tracy's character is there, and they start talking about like, okay, well, we can make a deal, we'll split it. And you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe this will end up, and then it doesn't because someone else looks at it and go, it's a big W, and they
I feel like this is just my theory. I feel like he was stalling her.
oh, Spencer Tracy was
Yeah,
like stalling her from getting it, or
yeah,
Because she could have really gone over there and probably.
Yeah.
I think he needed them all to be there at one. At once.
oh, to kind of, so he could get them rested or get the subterfuge going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he
Because he
manipulates.
talks to her for like 2.
Yeah, he does.
A while.
You make a good point. So yeah, so
sense.
she does again. So she has these moments of dialogue where she's like,
I felt bad for her.
I just want to go away where no one can find me,
Yeah.
and no one has to. I don't have to deal with anybody. I can just have my life.
She says somewhere specific, and it was kind of crazy, but I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
Yeah. So she's
and then
got,
everyone else finds it, and she's like, oh, that was a nice dream for 5 minutes.
I'm like,
So sad.
yeah,
come with me.
yeah. She's
We'll take you to the paint mines.
Yeah.
she is interesting, right? She's got a history. There's a story there because you notice she doesn't really talk to her brother throughout her scenes with him. She doesn't engage him. She doesn't.
Oh,
like,
her
yeah, we'll get there. So like, there's this kind of like this moment of like, she is very much all alone in this world. She has probably had to put up with a crazy mother most of her life. She's had to put up with Milton Berle as a husband who he's older than her. So she may have gotten married young to make her mom happy so that she's a part of a like, there's so many layers to these characters, which absolutely, just as a language arts teacher, I love it. I think Emmeline's one of my favorite characters. I think she's
I wonder if she got married young to get away from her mother and all that, because that happens.
That's
Women
true.
do that.
well, especially in this 50s and 60s. So she's probably
Yeah,
married to him for a
because
couple
I just
years.
think about her desire to want to just get away from everything, you
Yep.
know.
So then we get some exposition. So we're back at the sheriff's office, and they're saying, okay, well, he started here, he drove here, he did this, he did that. So what I love about the movie is it's not pure exposition. We're back with the police and we're figuring out stuff that's going on. The sheriff's conversations continue, and then the taxes. This is where our friend, your favorite character, gets Pike. It's like, well, you gotta pay taxes to the government.
I'm like, dude, it's stolen money.
Yeah, it's
No, it's
so
found
honest.
money.
yeah, it's hilarious. So then they fight about that, and then eventually they take off and they separate and they run
Yeah.
and whatever. So they're all on their own. Then we get this scene where this couple who's driving to California, and they
Oh, I felt so bad
Zoe
for them.
Yeah.
because the way he responds.
Oh yeah, no, I
didn't
remember.
wanna
Zoe was like, "That's you." I'm like, "Yep."
didn't want to move to California. But the funny part is, if you watch it, those chairs and all the things, they are launched. So
Yeah.
there's actual probably equipment back there that is specifically being like remote control do.
Yeah.
That's a fun little like practical effect. Imagining like they had to put that whole thing together so that it would and then fall
Well, and
apart.
that's when I started asking, like, how did they film all this? Like, I get the green screen part, but then
Yeah.
I'm like, did someone actually go down in it?
Honestly, it's one of the, to me, one of the impressive things about this movie.
Yeah.
It's just like
There is
it's
a-
almost all practical. It's got to be.
There is a lot of stunt work that's going on in this movie, and I mean, again, it's 1963, so we're talking real stunt people, real stuff's going on. It is impressive how this movie kind of really, for the most part, seamlessly feels good. And I mean, the green screen is not like they weren't aiming for accuracy; they were just aiming to let's kind of have some fun with it and stuff like that. So then, where are we? With the English. So what? I made notes, but then I didn't keep track. So we've gotten to the Englishman driver part. So
I thought his accent was obnoxious. Please tell me it was fake.
He sounded like Nigel Thornberry.
He did sound like Nigel Thornberry. And looked like him, kind of.
what was his name again?
Accurate.
Oh, J. Alderman Hawthorne, correct?
Yeah.
So the actor's name
British
is
Army Lieutenant.
yeah, Terry Thomas is our actor's name. One of Britain's most beloved eccentric comedians.
Oh no, it's real.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
but it was probably overplayed.
okay.
Yeah,
So
because he definitely looks very familiar. I know I've seen him in something else.
So yeah, Finch and his wife and the mom run into Pike, the furniture truck.
Oh
And
yeah,
they convince Pike to take the bike out of the back of the truck.
I remember that. So yeah, again, he's so trustworthy, right?
That's where I fell in love with him. I'm not gonna lie, because
Yeah.
I
on
was
that
like,
little bike.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he's like, but it's a girl's bike, and they're just like, you go do it, you go do it.
got this.
And he's like, okay. And
And then Finch meets the
Yeah.
Hawthorne and convinces him to help him out and drive him.
this
Yep.
guy.
Which one? All of
The
them.
Yeah.
the one that like was like, hey, I'll give you a ride. Put your bike in the bushes so it's out of the way.
Oh, no,
that
yeah,
one.
That's yet to come.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought we were there.
No, so Terry
not like
Thomas,
him either.
so J. Alderman Hawthorne picks them up, and what I love about this is that because Mom is a prickly cactus, the gag that comes up next where he's like, "Watch out where you're." Ow! I've got a couple of cactuses back there because she's,
I've been collecting
Uh-huh.
them.
I've been collecting them. And
Yeah, I think I said it's like she's as prickly as those guys.
Yep. And so I love that just marrying of the metaphoric imagery there. But yeah, he's an interesting dude. Like you get some of his story. Like he's been in the war. He's a fighter. He's in America, which is the wackiest
Collecting cacti.
collecting cacti. So he's an
Which
archaeologist.
he hates America, by the way.
Yeah,
We
he
find out.
does.
Him and Milton Berle, J. Russell Finch's character, they go toe to toe
Literally.
several times. But yeah, he
I
doesn't
like their physical fight the best.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, so yeah, and then J. Russell Finch, Milton Berle's character, basically lays him out for being British. He's like, "You English!"
And I was like, he was all mad at it, or because he went. Was it? Did he make? But he talked about America first.
Yeah,
So I was like, fair is fair.
Yeah, but it's gonna do it. So the Englishman, he was flirtatious with the wife a little
I know.
bit.
I was like, what are you doing, dude?
The English, they have a sense of humor and a sense of decorum all their own, apparently.
It's accurate.
So the man is on the bike. He then gets hooked up with Phil Silvers, also known as Otto, the character of Otto Meyer. And Phil Silvers was a legit actor. He's been in he was known for a lot of movies. His voice, his voice. You at least know that. And so this is the part where Vicki was mad.
Yeah, well, Pike tells him the whole shebang.
Right.
This was not a good decision.
No.
It's like you don't know this guy from Man in the Moon. What are you doing?
It was a terrible idea. So Mr. Mike says, "Oh well, you better toss that bike over in there, or they'll find it or whatever."
So nobody will trip over.
We're
it.
In the
trouble.
dark.
And then he
It's
just
like, oh yeah, good thinking.
yeah, and then he takes off. And
Scum of the earth.
and this makes Pike so much more angrier.
Well, because he just threw his bike, so now the thing
can't ride
is
it.
bent, and I feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So then there's the struggle of plan. The guy listens, he takes off. then we have the pension conversation. So the crux of the situation with Spencer Tracy's character is that he's worked hard and his pension isn't great. Like, it's not where it should be, where he feels it should be. He wants to be able to take care of his wife and his daughter, who is like a 20-year-old daughter, I think. Like she's over 18. She's definitely adult age.
Yeah, because she was engaged at one point.
Yeah, so she's.
But doesn't act like it.
Oh God, no.
It's like
her
that
vo-
thing from the 90s.
Yeah.
Act your age, not your shoe size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She acts like her shoe size.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in so long.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
You're
we're
welcome.
bringing it back.
I love it.
I was great. I like
So
this
there's
thing
the
so
whole
much.
conversation with the chief of police about the pension and how the pension, because he wants to go and he wants to. So he basically asks the police chief, "Hey, could you go talk to the mayor? Can you do this? Can you do?" And because his wheels are turning, he wants to get out of this. He wants to. He feels like this case is gonna be closed. He's like, "Okay, we're really, really close. This is my moment. I'm gonna retire after this. I got my pension. Peace out. See you later." And then he finds out that the mayor's not going to do it for him, and you don't get it, and that's where he kind of goes catatonic and kind of loses it later in the movie.
I just want a hot fudge sundae.
Yeah,
Whipped cream and a Cheerio top.
Yeah.
He's just dazed over happy look as he's got that.
right.
Well, I feel bad for him too because he's like, I've known where this money has been the whole time.
Yeah,
No one has listened to me, and it's literally like in our backyard.
yeah, and he
Why aren't we doing something about it?
right.
I guess it's understandable why he's like, I'm gonna do something about it.
Yeah, like
So then, and if I'm going too fast or if I'm skipping plot points, please let me know.
Well,
There's a lot. So we definitely won't hit every little detail.
This is a very, very
a
hard,
very long movie,
very hard
everybody.
target to hit. So then Phil Silvers, he is driving and he's talking about and what happens? Tire blows out.
deserves it.
yes.
I was like, you had it coming, dude.
And you know what? I feel like because it blew out at a very convenient location.
Oh,
I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, did the garage set that up? You know,
Those guys do seem a little too sweet.
well, because
then.
there's signs, 500 yards, 100 yards. You're here, you're here. So he pulls up. He's like, "Okay, guys, let's go, let's do this.
stop staring at me. What are
Stop
you
staring
doing?
at me, go."
I'm just like, dude, you just ruined your whole rim that you just rode on
Right.
for whatever.
Well, and so what's funny is that he's like so motivated and so excited and so ready to get, like, he's go. And you get kind of the idea that these guys, this is their business. This is
It's
new
the
for
first
them.
day they
first,
opened.
the first day they've
They
opened.
have free water.
They're really excited. So I would say, I don't know if it's their intent if they set that trap, because they seem like really nice guys. They're just kind of, they're props to get beat up here in a minute. So he's working on it and he's almost about to get away when guess who shows up?
Pike on his little.
Pike on his bike, and he is.
He's a crazy man. He's an escaped murderer.
Yeah,
It's
he's,
like,
he's
I'm a psychiatrist.
I'm a psychiatrist.
Yeah,
You
right.
gotta knock him out. But he goes to, and so they knock him out, and they tie him up, and he takes off. And he's like, okay, they'll be. And he Pike rips off the door.
I thought of you in this moment.
Okay, so it's not just me. He was like, Aaron, if you ever like snapped, this is how you'd fight.
I was like, yeah, like when he threw the couch over his head.
Right,
like,
right.
Oh no, both of the, seriously, everybody else was just like, God.
pulled the
I was like,
door
yeah.
off. Pulled the door off, and what's funny is that Otto Meyer, in his leaving, puts the door
in the back seat.
in the back seat, and then he takes off. And so yeah, that's all.
tie him up, and I'll have people come and get them.
Yeah, how about that? So
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's that again. He's
That's
very
not
much.
how it works, people.
Can I just mention, like, there is a ton of Coca-Cola product placement. in
Oh
this
yeah,
movie.
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Like, they're all drinking it. They got like the machine in
Yeah.
the back that gets used as a weapon
yeah.
later. Like,
Yeah, film sponsorships of movies and product placement has been around, and it was
Yeah.
it was notorious. I think in the '67. I mean, obviously it's ramped up a lot, but it was and back in the '60s it was like what Coke and Pepsi were the only two products.
got the big ones.
So you really had the chance. So they tie him up, and the God Dog's gonna come get you, and they don't know what they've got on their hands. They have the Hulk, and so
Yep.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, and he's like, "What are you talking about? You're crazy. That man was bad." And they're like,
And he
"No,
is
no."
not interested in being reasonable anymore.
No, he's had it.
He's
He has-
done.
Everything has happened. The world is falling down, and
And they're tying him up and talking about sending him to an insane asylum.
yeah, and he just he hulks out, and tears out of the chair, falls through the wall, and it's on like Donkey Kong.
Everything's
Like
destroyed.
everything.
I'm like, this place is built out of cardboard.
Starts hitting them with like tire things. That was the part that made me laugh the most.
and they try and like smash the things over to get him knocked out, and he doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
and he
he's
just two
like,
bottles, and
"Nope."
he's like, "I'm just more angry now."
Yep. So he cheats.
I love how they think they're like, we're gonna have to kill him.
And
Yeah.
he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah, that moment was like they're like, we're gonna have to kill him. Like there's no way we're getting out of this. So then they take a car axle and
Yeah.
are gonna ram it into him. He sidesteps them, and they end up in the bathrooms. He like punches through and pulls them both
It kind of
out.
made me think of Jurassic Park, to be honest.
Oh, the
Where, like,
Lord.
goes into the bathroom to get away from the T-Rex.
Yeah,
Not
doesn't
smart.
work. Doesn't work. So he ends up literally demolishing this gas station to rubble, and then steals the pickup truck. And I think he runs the truck or runs the tow truck into the building again.
No, he runs it into the water tower.
Oh, the water
The
tower.
free
Yeah,
water.
backs up, free water,
Yep.
and
Gone.
it's all gone, and then
Yeah.
he takes off.
So sad.
So yeah,
Poor guys.
yeah, it's fantastic.
But they're really gullible. They're too gullible for their own good.
yeah,
That's true.
they'll have a lovely insurance claim to take care of. Okay, so mother-in-law, I
She
appreciate.
wants to call her other
her
son.
son.
Oh, the weirdo.
Yeah,
Oh,
he is a.
I'm like, I looked at something. I'm like, they are on something.
Like,
Yes, they were.
that makes sense, because I was like, what is this? What is happening?
So I think what he represents is he represents a lot of, in the 60s we had a lot of kind of out there guys who were crazy, who were really just like I don't want to say beatniks, that's not the right word, but very much like surfer culture, like, oh, dude, man, you're bugging me, man, you're really bugging on me. I think to your statement, I think the movie, without really saying it, is like, he's on something.
And it's like, okay, so I don't know who creeped me out more, him or his girlfriend, wife,
Oh,
whatever.
the girl was like,
Because she was dancing, but her face was deadpan
Yep,
the whole
yep.
time. And oh man, and Zoe's like, they're doing the twist. I'm like, I don't care what they're doing.
He's like, what dance is this?
They need to
he has a
stop.
twist.
Yeah, I'm like, they're doing the twist. I get that.
Yeah.
Stop it.
So she's
But don't you hear the phone ringing?
Yeah. Well, it's funny is we get to the point. He's like, "Hey, baby, did you hear some bells?" And then
And they're like
she-
grooving to the phone ringing.
And then she picks up the phone
Someone
at that
does that.
point later. But for a while, mom's calling, and she's like, "Why isn't he answering? He must be out doing something," making excuses for her wacko weirdo son.
Oh, he's
I agree with
doing
Phil.
something,
I agree with
but
Phil.
not
He
outside.
is a weird little man, and he is a mama's boy.
Oh, yeah.
We find out
Oh,
later.
my
how
gosh.
much-
Yeah.
Oh, that was almost
Another-
disgusting.
What did they do to you, mama? I'm coming. Come on,
Your baby boy's on the way.
And he has tears running down his eyes. I'm like, you are too old to be crying over this like this. Like, stop it.
Okay, so then we have the dentist and his wife. They eventually get to the airport, and the plane they choose.
Oh, and he's trying to be like, I wouldn't do this to you. Like, trust me. And I was like,
Okay,
that's hard.
So I did.
Poor wife.
I forgot about this part. So this is the moment where there is a little bit of like, he's not really all that good to her. Like,
They're not perfect,
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
putting her in a situation
That is not safe.
that's not safe at all. He basically, but he's like, I'll pay. The plane is sputtering. The plane doesn't work really
Her
well.
shoe
that
barely
goes
gets
through
up.
part of it. Like, and the woman crosses herself.
Yeah. And he,
I would've been
Completely
out.
deadpan.
he sees that. The wife doesn't. He sees that and kind of goes, okay, no, whatever.
Don't tell her now.
Yeah. So the plane goes. They're not moving faster than traffic. They're actually slower than traffic.
It'll cost you $50 more for me to go faster,
Yeah.
basically.
So then we get back. Yeah, it was. So we're back to the planes, back to the police station, and we get to meet his wife, Ginger, and she sounds just delightful.
Not Ginger.
Yeah, she's not a nice lady. But then we find out it was the tuna factory robbery or something, the tuna factory case. And I was just like, oh, that's funny. And then we're back. So now the mother-in-law and the tow truck, I think, is where we're at now. Yes.
Oh, he picks them up because he's driving. Which, what a nice guy.
Yeah, he is. He's but he then comes to regret that because
Of course,
she's
that's
out.
Mrs. Marcus.
she's obviously
Well, you kind of skipped over where they leave her, the British guy and her.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, they do. Don't
Which
they?
I love.
Yeah.
Well, she like tried to take the keys and then she
Oh,
goes
yeah, yeah. Okay,
dirty
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
and
yeah,
goes,
yeah,
"Why
okay.
you can't get it?" And I was like, "Get the wife, let her do it." Like,
so
let's fight fair.
that is okay. We did skip over that. So yeah. So she is so mad.
Yeah.
How dare you insult my son? And I'm just like, ma'am, this is an Arby's. Like, what is wrong with you? Or a Wendy's or whatever the meme is these days. But she totally like is so upset about that's all she's mad about. And she's like, I'm taking the keys and you're not going anywhere until you apologize. And so she shifts from being like, we got to get the money to, well, my son is my son and how dare you? I'm just like,
But I'm like, dude, this is his car, not yours.
right.
Yeah.
That was the whole issue. And he's
This is like the extreme version of a Karen.
Yeah.
This is the
he's like,
worst Karen.
he's like, this is my vehicle. Can I have my keys back?
Can we at least agree on that part?
And
Like-
so she puts it into her clothing.
Which I was like,
Our blouse.
that's fighting dirty.
Yeah.
Right there.
And then what do they end up doing?
They put her upside down and they shake her.
They shake the
And my
keys
idea
out.
was to take the wife and be like, "But let her get it."
Yeah,
Like,
Right.
totally.
Well, the wife wouldn't have helped because
No.
she was.
she's
She
just
was-
like, "What are you doing to my mom?" And I'm like, "She's being unreasonable."
Yeah.
For real.
What else? What are they? There's not a great alternative.
Right.
This is actually kind of humane.
Yeah.
So then I can't remember. So they shake the keys out of her. Do they leave her there and take
Both
off?
of them there. Both of the
Yeah.
ladies.
Okay, so they leave the ladies, and so Milton Berle's character finally gives mom like, you're terrible, I hate you, you're
He
miserable.
grows a
blah, blah.
backbone. I was like,
Yeah.
"Good on you, man."
So he finally, but then that backbone shatters later. Well, we gotta go find him. We gotta go find him
But
again.
they're already at
Yeah.
the gas station when
right.
they turn around.
and they circle around.
But this is maybe we can go into counselor's corner when you're that codependent thing. That's hard to shake off.
oh, 100%.
You can have that whole like, that's those second thoughts of, "Oh, did I really do the right thing?" So
How do you? I guess we'll swing into counselor's corner for a second. How do you when you're in that situation when you're codependent like that and it's almost like an epidemic for you, like it's almost like it's a part of you. How do you begin the process of pulling that codependence apart as someone who is like, if you're in that position of realizing your codependent situation, how does that process start of, I need to get out of this? Is it like a clean break and you run, or is it like, what does that look like?
I can.
I'm like, personally, I would say you just need to go
Yeah.
and cut that forever.
I would
Like, no
agree with
going
that
back.
because like you can't do, based on my experience dealing with codependent people. You can't go small because they'll come back.
Totally.
You gotta all or nothing.
And from my experience, if you are someone who you feel like you are the codependent person,
Yeah.
a way to break that is you just need to learn yourself.
Yeah.
Like, love yourself
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Because you can't have a relationship with someone else if you can't love yourself, take care of yourself. Because
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah,
that
totally.
was my own personal experience.
And
I
healthy
had to-
boundaries are always good.
Yep.
And I think a support for me, what helped is having a very strong support system outside of that, so that when I had those moments, like this guy where it's like, "Oh, did I do the right thing?" Or they would come back at you, and I was like, "Oh, is it right?" They were like, "No,
Yeah.
don't do this."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to do well, it's good to like not always be together.
Yeah.
Do your own thing.
Yeah.
Zoe and I a lot, like she'll go sometimes and like she'll go hang out with you or something, and I don't mind. I'm like, I just play my video games, like
You're right.
like so.
Well, and that was kind of, it's illustrative. We're swinging into from counselor's corner into relationship corner, which is fine. I don't mind the swerve.
But we
that's,
do that a lot too. We have a lot of different interests.
Yeah, and I think if like, so for you out there listening, we do swerve around this kind of conversation sometimes, but I think it also applies to the characters in this movie, because some of these characters, their marriages or relationships are really messed up.
Yeah, we do so much better than them.
We're like so much better than them. Oh my gosh, like they're terrible. Like, oh my gosh, like whatever. Sorry, something the valley.
Why?
Yeah, Zoe can't.
Totally.
Tubular.
Oh, I can't even. That's too much.
Yeah.
Not that. No.
Anyway, so we learned early on in our relationship, and
Yeah.
I would say, if you're listening and you're in a relationship, you need to have that space. You need to be able to say, hey, I'm going to go hang out with my friend Zoe and my foster daughter, and we're going to go spend an entire day doing something that we love.
Yeah.
Hiking and getting to see nature and doing all this stuff. And then or Phil would also be able to say, cool, I'm going to just play my games and I'm going to have a bachelor day where I get to kind of do my own thing, or I've been meaning to work on the house.
You were working on the house. It was
so
great.
I installed some lighting and did some other things. So like I was able to do that, and that was fine. And I was like, cool, we'll see you when we see you.
Now, to be fair, it was like a few hours into y'all's trip. I did text Zoe once or twice and was like, because I wasn't getting a response back.
Sure.
And she finally got back to me. She's like, I didn't have any signal. Like, I was in the middle of nowhere.
Like, hello.
And I was like, okay, just you're alive. That's all I need to know.
Proof of life. That's all that matters.
That's it.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
all I need.
I do want to say, I think it's important to do things together. I feel like that's something you and I are growing in.
Yeah.
Like this podcast, for example, is a thing that we could do together.
Absolutely. Okay, so Plane Madness, he ends up. I keep hitting my.
You do. It kind of reminds me of a guitar chord.
It does sound
Yeah,
like a guitar.
Yeah, I'm not a good one though, unfortunately. So the plane situation with the sputtering plane. Is this the point where he like breaks everything in flight?
Yes,
Well,
because
it's
there's
her
a
fault.
bug.
There's a bug, so he smashes the
I
windshield.
missed this part.
Smashes the windshield, and then he
Hits the thing that
hit,
has
hit
the.
the support for the wing.
Yeah.
And then he
Puts his foot through
through the. He's like, "Ah!"
So, can we get an Insta replay of that? Please?
I'm just like.
It was madness. I was like, oh, I forgot how crazy this movie is.
I'm like, you're obviously outside. There's going to be elements. There's going to be creatures.
Right.
There's a reason why those pilots wore goggles.
Yes.
So
Because
yeah,
bugs are stupid.
the
Fly right for your eyes.
The plane madness was just like, okay, we're having enough. So then the mother calls the son again, and is
he's
this
still dancing?
still
man.
dancing? But is this the point in which he answers?
She
She
answers.
Oh,
and
yeah,
throws him the phone.
yeah. Which I
can't believe it didn't get unplugged from the wall.
well,
By the way she
so
threw it.
back in the landline days, if you would have a longer cord on your phone if you wanted to go across
What,
the
a
room.
cord on your phone? What are
I
you
know,
talking about?
shocking.
It had the little like curl thingies.
Me too. Yeah. The little.
Yeah. So that the phone being thrown across the room, fairly normal. I mean, we all went, "Ugh," but they probably had done it before. So she picked up and he's like, "Oh, Mama, what's going on?" "Oh, this man, complains, says everything. "Mama, what are you talking about? What's going on?" She's like,
She's
"Shut
like
up! I'm trying to tell-"
arguing with everyone
Yeah.
at the same time. She's like telling everyone to shut,
Shut
up.
up.
Just listen to me. Do what I gotta say. Like,
"Where are you? I'm over here. I'm coming, Mama. I'm coming." "Oh no, I'll just shut up. I want to tell you something. I'm coming, Mama. I'm coming for you. I'll be there. I'm getting my car right now." And then he does. He gets his car and he drives.
And she's just like, he's just like your father. He doesn't listen. It's like, there's no one you like, lady.
Well, and then I'm just like, where is the father?
Yeah.
Like.
That's the other question. He's probably dead.
Yeah.
Or long gone. It's like, God, this was a
he's on a
mistake.
beach in Cancun
Yeah.
or something.
That crazy lady wasn't worth my time. So then we cut to our he's one of the guys who was not in play originally, Phil Silvers, who plays Otto Meyer, and he picked up a dude to like get home to his wife or something like that.
It's a miner trying to get back to his very royal cabin.
Okay, so his
And
sick
isn't
wife-
it a
Oh,
child?
yeah.
yeah, he has a kid.
So
That kid's
Is that
weird.
the country child that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
trying to show him where the
Yeah.
tells him he can cross
I
the
know
creek.
other way.
Yeah. So
Give me $3.
I think it's funnier in Rat Race.
Yeah. You should have bought a squirrel.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, so the fun part about this is that he's driving down the ravine or whatever,
Yeah.
and he hits a rock, and we see oil and stuff leak out, but we never get the payoff for that. It doesn't come back.
This guy
again.
gets off practically scot-free the whole movie. It's infuriating.
Yeah, so we get
Agreed.
that, but so his the thing is smoking, and so he's trying to get out. He rolls back. He's like, "Oh, I know another way," kind of you're saying, and so he leads them. What's interesting, and me and Vicki noticed this. He's like, "Okay, if you go here, you can make it across." If you notice, there are rocks arranged
For the shallow part.
for him to cross.
I know, this made me so angry. I'm like, if you followed the child, you would have been fine.
I just think he's too full of himself to take directions.
But yeah, it was like he was like, "This is Niagara Falls," and I'm like, "Oh,
No, it's not.
But what I thought was so dumb is when his car starts to sink, he just sits in it. I'm like,
Get
swim.
out.
You're going to drown.
So yeah, it's what amused me is like you could see the path where he was supposed to go. And the kid's
Yes.
like, just come over here. Anybody didn't. He just, you tell me, yeah, and he just sinks and whatever.
Too egotistical for his own good.
Well, at least that kid was actually trying to help, unlike the squirrel lady.
Oh, but he waves at it with his hat like, bye. Thanks for the $3.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
You really are hitting that thing a lot.
I am. It's right in my way.
He's got to get used to the new setup.
It's my mouse is right there.
And I'm so musically nerdy, I want to know what note that is.
Whatever it is, it's sharp or flat, hard. It's a hard, sharp, or a hard, flat one. Okay, so now Milton Berle's character wants to go back, and they turn around and they go, but then they turn and then they show up and it's across whatever, and then our other guys land.
Yes.
And our husband and wife, they land.
Yep.
And they get on to in a cab and they go, and then we get to the car at the top of the car at the top of the hill was before.
Yeah, before the water.
So that was kind of amusing. I was and my memory of that scene wasn't great. I was thinking it would be more of an interesting kind of fall down, but he survived and it didn't do
You
any
get the
damage.
payoff with the water.
Yep. So then we end up at the tool shop. So they take a taxi to the tool shop. They're like, oh, we're closed. We just need, Mr. What's everything's in there. Like, okay, we'll go in.
We just need a shovel and a pike.
Yeah, and they go in, they go down, and they're looking, and they find it. But then the guy that they were supposed to go talk to notices the door to the basement is open, and he closes it.
And locks it.
And they go, what? What ensues
They
is...
totally would have won if not that.
If not for that, they would have been fine. They would have made it. Because they were in town. They were in the city. It was there.
Dig with your hands.
Yeah. It was unfortunate. So the tool shop, it's a comedy of errors, and it's Zoe has feelings apparently about that whole.
First of all, why are you leaving a torching
Yeah.
next to fireworks and all the other things?
Right.
Just bad decisions all around.
Yeah.
And why are you trying to use that to get through the door?
And that poor lady who just doesn't want anything to blow up.
No, she's like, can we please live? Like,
She hates explosions.
And she's like, it's going to be over. You don't have to cover your ears. And I'm like, hearing damage. Let her cover her ears.
and then he wants to go in there,
Yeah.
And she's like, please don't do it. Please don't do it. I just want to look.
and then it goes,
Of course it does.
Yeah. And then what we see later in that scene is there's actually gunfire that's going off. Like
There were lasers.
There were
Okay, so there was a few things about that the
Okay.
firework explosion I noticed. There was a boing, 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 boing for some reason, and there were literally lasers, pew 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 pew, going across the screen.
okay.
And I was like, "What is going on here?"
everything.
everything all at once.
Everything
Yeah.
everywhere all at once. Yeah.
Good movie, by the way.
Yeah. So then, the tool shop madness, and then the British versus American yelling between the two drivers. That happens. They get punched.
Oh, he says something funny about like America's obsession with like a certain body part, and is
Right.
like, well, if you burned this piece of clothing, and I was like, it is the '60s.
Yeah.
When that happened.
Yeah.
He has a point, and I would say
He
it
does.
still exists.
If they all stopped
Yeah, it's like
burning,
it has.
then your society would collapse.
That's true. Yeah.
And this was made in '63, so it's one of those kind of those
And
moments.
I blew my mind. It's rated G.
Yeah, that
I
blew
know.
my
I was
mind
like,
too.
honestly, when I saw the twist happening, I'm like, this just should not have been rated G.
It's I have to think about it. It's
You know?
1963's
Yeah.
version of G.
Yeah, so they had like smoking cigarettes and stuff like that.
Yep. There are a lot of things that
That's
probably
not what bothered me. It was other things.
Yeah, I agree. The outfits and the
Yeah.
dancing and
So then
the facial expressions while they were dancing. Anyway,
we get back to the sheriff's office or the police station, and he's like, "Oh, we'll get him out of the basement." And then one of the guys is like, "But that wouldn't be fair. If we're gonna let all these guys do, like, we're gonna get them in the end, but they need to be able to do it on their own." And he's like, "Are you like?" And there's this debate about fairness. Do we intervene? Do we not intervene? And he's like,
And at this point, I'm still like, what are they? I thought they were like kind of like in Rat Race betting on it.
They
Right.
do eventually.
Oh,
A little bit,
Oh.
yeah. There's a little bit that happens. Yeah, the element of Rat Race is that it's a part of the actual game.
Yeah, it is a game,
It's John Cleese is running this game, and it's a whole broadcasting whatever thing. But yeah, the whole matter of fairness. And then he bashes in the door back in the basement. He bashes in a door with a front end loader, but that doesn't turn out to be anything. So I was confused. I was like, so did that go anywhere? Or
Yeah,
was
I
that just
don't
because
know.
he was angry? I don't know. It didn't pay off for me.
They just needed to have him destroy that place as much as possible.
Yep, apparently, and it worked because it did a lot of damage. And then with so when we get our two friends back and they're in a plane, they've managed to get their pilot awake and out of the shower and everywhere else that they've been beating him up on. And then he's flying, and he's like, "Oh boy, I like to have a couple of drinks when I'm flying."
I was trying to figure out because I think I was confusing it with like in Rat Race. There's somebody with this kind of issue, but he's like I forget the term for it. Someone who just falls asleep.
Oh, has narcolepsy?
Narcolepsy.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what
Mr.
it was.
B.
So I was looking, going, "Is this supposed to be that?"
Maybe.
But it was hard to tell.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
just
know.
drinks.
I couldn't make a 1-to-1 comparison between the characters of the two movies.
Oh, and he's not the professor. He's the rich.
Thurston Howell III
Yeah.
in Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
That's what he played.
He's the guy with all the monies.
Yep. So he is in the plane, and he has, I have to have at least 1 or 2 old fashions to fly.
And he's like, "You're not making them right."
And so then he puts Buddy Hackett in charge of flying.
Not smart.
Which lasts for like 5 seconds before all hell breaks loose.
It's like, why couldn't you just keep it straight?
But that's not. Buddy Hackett has played in a lot of madcap comedies, and so his.
Have we watched any of his stuff together?
He was in Herbie and the Herbie movies.
Okay.
Herbie.
He's in a bunch of other movies. He was a comedic legend at this point by '63.
Oh, he was so fun to watch. Just like
So him and Mickey Rooney. So it's Mickey Rooney and Buddy Hackett, and those two are two really incredible comedy actors.
I'd love to know how they shot that scene.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Which
I'm
one?
like,
The one on the
with the
plane?
plane is going all over the place.
So my guess is that they had it on a gimbal, and a gimbal means that it would be mounted. Actually, probably both. So gimbal, and also so that it was able to be like rotated around. So it would have been able to be doot, but also and like. So that was a fun effect to watch because it
Yeah.
did. You watched the guy in the back was tumbling around like he was actually tumbling around.
but the outside shots, though,
We're crazy.
is that
'cause
maybe a
I-
miniature?
like I've thought maybe it was like a RC plane that they did.
No, it probably was a real plane. They had probably stunt pilots in charge of flying that thing.
Oh,
Because it was
I can't imagine like it went upside down at one point.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you off. I mean, we have to research it. I'll let Vicki see if she can research it.
Okay.
But it was probably a real plane, and they probably had absolutely had stunt plane fly dressed up in those costumes out from the outside. Obviously, from the inside, they had green screen and they had just whatever going on. But yeah, it was like Mickey Rooney and Ben. Like that was just a fun scene to watch. Like it was just like, what?
And then the
The
pilot
Colonel.
gets basically knocked out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they knocked.
that's great.
He's knocked out. We've got an emergency. And then our colonel, who is trying to talk them down, is absolutely useless. Zoe is sighing.
He's
and-
like, "We see you, and we're gonna try to help you land." Yeah,
Right.
sure.
But then he goes into this whole like, before you do that, man, and he's
Yeah.
like doing this whole like encouragement speech, and it's like, and you can see all the guys around him are just like, oh no,
Get to the point.
we've got the wrong guy for the job.
I need the guy on the stick to be also working the radio.
And then he's like,
not
"Oh,
one of
here, take
Why don't
Like,
want that?
this
Why don't
guy's
you give it
a good coach for someone who just is learning to fly. But this is like an emergency
Right.
situation. Encourage them after.
Right.
Get them to safety first.
Well, and he ends up tied up in the wires. Like, what's wrong with these wires? And then falls out the air traffic control tower.
Oh, dude.
And then all the
Ooh.
equipment gets ripped out.
I've got some plain facts.
Okay.
So let's see. Trying to make sure I get all this right. A communications mix-up resulted in the use of linen graphic sheets on the sign, like the sign that crashed through, rather than paper as planned. Linen, much tougher than paper, damaged the plane on impact. Talaman managed to fly it back to the airstrip, so apparently they did use a real plane, discovering that the leading edges of the wings had been smashed all the way back to the wing spars. Talman considered that incident the closest he ever came to dying on
Oh
film.
my god.
I wondered about that because I mean
some of these stunts. I mean, people get
yeah.
stuff happens.
Yeah. And that's a fun stunt because it actually, like you said, they actually flew that plane through a board.
That's why I was
Through-
gasping because I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually kind of real.
Yeah. So there was a lot of practical effects, and it was.
In another scene, Talman flew the plane through an airplane hangar,
Yep.
so that was real too.
Yep. Absolutely. So yeah. So there's this is the age of Hollywood being practical and really leaning into that.
It also reminds me. I
Okay.
can't remember her name in the Rat Race, but the lady flying the
Hey, the helicopter. She's scary.
That was
She's scary.
awesome.
You don't want to make her mad.
That was
When she got mad, I was like, dude, don't date her.
Yeah,
She'll kill you.
literally.
I can't wait till we talk about that one.
And then we've already skipped past. So we actually we got ahead of ourselves with the call, and then they're finally dancing and Sylvester picking up the phone. They're stuck in the basement. There's an electroshock situation in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
he says, like the burglar alarm is like,
I'm frying. Help.
and then the paint collapses on him. And then but then later he's fine. He doesn't have any paint.
Well,
on him
it was
anymore.
just a little bit.
Yeah. And then Flying gets knocked out. And then we have the car crash between. Is this? So this is when Sylvester catches up with them, or there's fighting at least. They crash the Jeep, don't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And then they fight, and then he gets kicked off the cliff, and then he stomps on his hands.
Oh yes.
He's like, "Are you the Englishman? Like, I've heard about you."
Well, that comes later.
Okay.
This is between the Englishman and Milton Berle, and this is where they're like punching each
Oh,
other.
it's so
and
funny. Neither one of them can fight.
No.
He tries to kick him and he kicks a rock, and then tries to get back and he kicks the same rock. That kind of stuff. That was funny.
The comedy in this movie, I love it because it is. Some of you guys might feel like it's like, oh, I'm scrolling through my phone at this point in the movie,
I wasn't there yet.
but it was like
That was about where
Mine's when they're doing the car chase and they get to the building. I'm like, okay, this needs to be over.
oh, it was that like that's we'll get to that.
Okay.
So like, but you have to like look at it through that '60s filter of comedy. There are some really funny bits in here if you have the patience, that you can find the humor in it. Okay, they're fighting. Back to the plane. The scene with Billy Sue on one phone, and Ginger on the other.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
it's like.
And his face is just like, I'm dead.
Okay, because then he goes, "What's wrong?" and he just looks at the phone.
Yeah.
Well, and then he also, at one point when it comes back, he's like also getting yelled at by someone.
Yeah.
And then they're still fighting on the phone, and I'm like, oh, this
And
poor
he
guy.
just can't even anymore. At this
Yeah,
point.
no.
Never mind. I'm gonna go vacation by myself.
Yeah, for 3 weeks.
Yep. So then he gets told there's no pensions. We're getting close to the intermission now. There's quick and fast cuts.
Oh my goodness.
Car is now a boat. We've already talked about that. So intermission. So everything is coming to a head. There's explosions gonna happen. Blah 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 blah. And then we're back. And the fireworks are coming. They explode. It happens. The plane is flying out of control. Now when I saw them in the credits, I thought we got more of them, but we only get one shot of the Three Stooges,
Yeah,
and they're the
literally.
fire crew.
I was like, ah!
And then that's it. We don't see them ever again.
I know, which was kind of.
It was a letdown, but it's 63, so these guys are older at that point. Like this is when they're still they're not doing their daily like they did movies like crazy. They pumped out so many movies in their time. Do you guys know who Don Knotts is?
The name sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
sounds
Yeah.
So
familiar.
he's the guy the second guy that he hijacks the car from because the helicopter's following him. He's like, oh, they're following me. We gotta.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I saw his face, I'm like, oh yeah.
So Don Knotts was in the Andy Griffith Show. He
Oh,
was the
okay,
sheriff.
yeah.
He was
Oh,
he
yeah.
was well, not the sheriff.
was
maybe,
Barney, I
He
think.
was the deputy.
Okay.
I think I even mentioned something about Andy Griffith while we was watching this.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I knew right away. Just with the face, not the name.
Yep. So he steals Don Knott's car. Everyone's reunited in the tow truck. There's a moment here. Okay, so everyone's the tow truck man is back in the truck, and then Sylvester and the other two, the Englishman and Milton Berle. This is where I made a note of how they did the practical combination, but then the green screen. So if you notice, there's real world driving, but then when they show the cars smashing together, that's up against a green screen. So that's an actual car getting smashed together, but they're up against a green screen, so it's not actually being on location. But they flip back and forth between those two so effectively that, like your brain's like, okay, no, but it's so cool how they really did it really well, and I appreciated it. So
Cool.
as a technical theater person and technical sometimes filmmaker, Colonel's tied up. Plane versus basement. Oh, we're getting the back and forth in placement. Taxi driver. So the African American taxi driver, his name is What? What?
I'm just gonna say this. I don't know anything about the cab drivers because I totally zoned out at that point.
So the African American cab driver is actually Rochester from the Jack Benny program.
Oh.
So his voice, he goes, I'm Rochester. Like,
It's
it's
very
significant.
distinctive voice.
Yeah. So he was the voice of Rochester on Jack Benny's radio program for years. So him being included here is a call out to that. And I think, and I got to look at this real quick because I'm pretty sure. I want to say Jack Benny's the other one. Hold on, stand by. I got to look at my list here, my cast.
I guess we shouldn't have watched the Rat Race because now in my head I'm just like, I'm getting them confused.
It can be a little bit messy. Well, maybe Leo Gorcey was the first cab driver. There was another cab driver, and it was Jack Benny. I got to find it. Hold on, stand by.
No, there definitely was two.
Yeah.
Yeah, they show up at the.
It's so funny because I zoned
Oh,
that
Peter
part out,
Falk
too.
was the third cab driver.
Okay.
Well, I just remember we get there and I'm like, where did these cab drivers come from?
Yeah, I was same way.
So many characters in
Yeah.
this film.
So it was Eddie Rochester Anderson was the second cab driver, and the third cab driver is actually Peter Falk, who is a famous. He played Columbo in the Columbo TV series.
I thought he looked familiar.
so. He's a very young Peter Falk.
Okay.
But yeah, Peter Falk was born for the role of Columbo. He played that series from 1971 to 2003. Only 67 episodes. He played the grandfather in Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yep, he's had a lot of really cool. I mean, he died in 2011 at 83 years old.
Aw.
So Peter Falk was one of the greats. So anyway, we get that. Where are we at here? So Rochester from Jack Benny coming together, and they're all together. So they're all together. Now, this is the point in which the police chief or the chief of whatever detectives, he finally has a plan, and he's going to get the money. And
I think he plays it very smart. He makes sure they all see him.
Yep.
So they all think they're like he's a part of it.
Right.
Love it.
And then they go, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Well, I know all of you. You're under, hey, this is happening." And he's like, but he plays a little manipulation. He's like, "If you go turn yourselves in, they'll look better on that." And they're all in a panic because they've been caught with money. Like it's there.
And he knows who they are.
He
So.
knows these of them are. So like, okay, we'll go do that. So they get in the cars and they go.
But he also tells them that they're not criminals. So
Yeah, you're not. None of you are criminals. Like you're.
But they just committed a lot of crimes on the way.
right.
Yes, a lot.
And
So
they've been
I
keeping-
think that's what he was referring to. Like you guys, under normal circumstances, wouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And I forgot that I thought that the movie ended here, that he got away with the money and whatever, but I totally forgot that it goes for a little bit longer.
So
A
this
little
is the
bit.
point where
40
I
minutes.
This is the point where I checked out. But I was just like, okay, it's enough.
I was definitely out by this time. I was out by the. We'll get to it when we start talking about our ratings and stuff. So
Okay. So he takes off, and they kind of like watch him. They're like, "Well, where is he going?" And they're like, "He's going the other way."
Yep.
And
he's
then
not going to the police
they
station.
turn around and they chase him down. And I love this chase scene. It's effective. It works really well. I mean, I know you guys checked out, but it's a lot of fun to watch because it's very choreographed. They go on one ways. They get to the boat dock, and then he turns around and they chase him down again. And
Yeah.
then they end up at the condemned building, and they
Have the good sense to at least tell the women to not go in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, stupid mother-in-law is like, "What do you mean stay out?" I'm like, "Let them protect you. Come on."
Right. So we won't go step by step on this because it's a convoluted mess. They all end up in the building.
So many stairs.
So many
There's
stairs.
a ladder.
There's
So
top.
many stairs.
Several ladders
I
actually.
don't, I don't know if anyone's ever played Final Fantasy VII, but there is a building where if you want to, you can take the stairs,
Yeah.
and it is comedically long. Like
Yeah.
just it takes at least 5 minutes of in game just climbing stairs. And this scene, I'm like, what? You did not need to show them go around the corner 5 times.
And I want to say on a personal note, I've been at the top of a building before at a conference when the fire alarm went off, and we had to walk down 15 flights of stairs. You get dizzy.
Yeah.
So going up, I appreciated the realism of one of those guys falling down because I'm like, you would be very dizzy by this point. They're going fast.
Yep. So they get to the top, and he goes down the fire escape. that's not stable. And they're holding a press conference, I guess, about the building. And then he turns around like, what are they doing? Oh my gosh, oh, those are safe. And so we have this whole... I almost
Looney
feel,
Tunes.
Yeah, it's Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Where they're on and the fire truck shows up to extend the ladder, and they're all pushing, and he just says, "Y'all are gonna figure it. Y'all are gonna find out."
He tries to be like one at a time, and he's like, "No, you're on your own. You'll see. You'll find out."
I
I tried.
him so hard on that. Because first of all, even if it was a safe fire escape, with that many people in it, it would not be safe.
No.
Like, it just can't hold all that weight. And then you guys are
Yeah, no, it's madness.
jumping onto this
Right.
thing. No.
So then you get now the movie sends out the payment, the punishment to each character. They're getting thrown around.
Electric power lines, a fountain.
There's a moment where I visibly flinched.
Just one moment.
And I
Which moment?
It was definitely intentional, and I don't know how to feel about it, so I want to get yours opinion.
Okay.
Rochester is flung in and lands in the arms of a statue
Oh, yeah, we
of
talked
Abraham
about
Lincoln.
I pointed that out to Zoe too. I was like,
And given that this movie is a comedy, I think they were really leaning into that,
It was the 60s too.
and I was
Yeah.
uncomfortable because I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh boy, okay, that one's a little too far."
Yeah, you were like, I don't know how I feel about that. And I'm like, I
because
agree.
to step into historian's corner, which is where I primarily live a lot of my life, Abraham Lincoln was responsible for the Emancipation Proclamation and the freeing of the slaves and all of that. And so a lot of conversation in those years and after was that Abraham Lincoln was the quote unquote savior of the slaves, the, whatever thing of, and so that was what was attributed to him. So to have that moment in a movie, I will say this, we have to always look through filter and the lenses of time and all that. In 63, that might have been seen as like, oh, that's kind of ha. Not really like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. It would just be like, oh, chuckle, I see what you were doing there. Mm-hmm. In 2024, we go, what is that? And why are you doing that? Because
That was a mistake.
If you did that in 2024, people would be like, that's obscene. Like you are pandering to something that you shouldn't. Like, what is your messaging here? This is messed up. You are putting it. There's a whole line that you would have with this scene in 2024. In 1963, different time, different, and
yeah,
again,
like I said, it was enough for me to like look at Zoe and I'm like, you noticed that too, right?
It's one of those things where movies, this is the issue with timeless movies and when movies are timeless and when they aren't, and how certain moments can take you out of that. That moment for me was when I was like, okay, I have a problem now. So outside of that, they all get thrown into pools, they all get thrown into things, they all get beat up and
Well, you didn't mention that. Did you mention that they lost all the money?
Yeah, so the money
Threw it to the people.
Yeah,
They accidentally unzip it and it just falls out.
Yep,
and
all the money
everyone's
falls on people and people grab it, and then her
I
mom,
thought that was actually a good ending with the money.
Yeah. Well, the mother-in-law's like, "How dare you? Don't take my money! Don't take our money!
I'll kill you if you touch it. Don't you dare touch that money.
Good luck.
Yeah, good
You
luck.
hit him with your bag, lady.
I'm sorry, but
Dude, there were so many times I was like, can you just take that bag from her and whack her with it? Like, oh.
I mean, we'll talk about Rat Race in the future, but I felt like Rat Race had a way better ending. Like,
I don't remember the ending, so don't
So the
tell
ending
me.
of Rat
We
Race
won't
is
talk
where they're at the
about it.
concert, and then they get
Hey
him to-
now, you're an all-star.
Good old
Oh,
Smash
yeah.
Mouth, which is interesting because I think we lost the lead singer of Smash Mouth recently.
Yeah,
didn't
we did. I talked about it with my students because they think of Shrek when they hear that song.
Yeah.
And I have it on the boom whackers, and I brought it up with some of my older kids, and they were just like, "What?"
Yeah, that song was
Yeah.
everywhere in the
Yes,
2000s.
I can't remember how he
September of-
died.
September of 2023.
What?
Yeah, it's really
Steve
recent.
Harwell passed away at the age of 56.
Yeah.
Sadly, after we found out he was a jerk.
Yeah. He was not a nice man. He
Dang
was
it.
so his cause of death was final stages of liver failure.
I thought it was alcohol related. Yeah.
And a lot of what they talked about after that was people were like, because he had kind of faded
Yeah.
from view, because Smash Mouth was kind of a one-hit wonder. They had,
Well, they had that, and then they had.
I'm a Believer from Shrek.
Yeah. So basically the music from Shrek.
Yeah, they used a lot. Yeah, there was another one too, something about the sun or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, something on the sun.
Yeah.
Might as well be walking on the sun.
Oh,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had a couple, but what they talked about is that he was a mean drunk and he was not a nice person. As because he whatever. That's nothing. He's got nothing on Fred Durst though. Fred Durst is just
Oh yeah, don't get us started.
It's just one of those days.
yeah. Who Fred
Have
Durst,
you seen the documentary about Woodstock?
99?
No, I'll have to watch
because
it.
that it gave because I had that album
Yeah.
and there's a part where Fred Durst is a part of that concert and he started some things went down
He
because of a
basically told
certain
people.
song.
He told people to light things on fire.
Oh,
That's great.
Yep.
You know that
Sounds on
song
brand.
Break Stuff?
Yeah.
That was the one.
Yep, and he didn't listen to anybody to tell him to stop. So Fred Durst is still alive, and I hope that someday he's 53, which is hilarious. All of our music people that we followed in our younger years, they're all like 50s and 60s.
40s
now.
and 50s, yeah.
Yeah, they're getting old. We're getting old. Oh my gosh.
That happens.
Okay, so then we get the thing, and then the police chief is smashed. So I don't know if you watched this, but when whatever the stunt double smashes through the window and then crashes through the floor into the ground floor.
Yeah.
That's a stunt double doing that.
Yeah.
Nuts. I mean, I'm sure they had protection down
Well,
there.
totally, yeah.
But that was like you watched him fly, and that was not a miniature. That was an actual building. Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Now, they cut to actual Spencer Tracy sitting there and getting licked, which is interesting. If you notice, the shot is reversed and played forward several times. It's not an actual continuous shot of him being licked by the dogs. So whatever happened.
It's like a boomerang effect, That
Yeah.
filter reminded me
Okay.
of that.
So whatever happened with that shot, they apparently couldn't get enough of it with the dogs licking him to make that scene work. So they just kept reversing it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Okay.
they
It worked.
should have just used my dog. My dog will lick you for hours.
Literally.
I haven't met your doggo.
We'll have to bring her by one day
Well, you
just to
should.
try it out. 'cause-
Okay.
She's old, so she can be a grump sometimes.
Okay.
Well,
But,
it'll
I
be
mean,
interesting to see what Duke does.
But she's sweet.
Okay.
No.
All right. So now we got to go to the hospital. And this is when they're all in.
It's like, why?
It's like
The
a-
money's
still
gone.
This is the film that doesn't end.
Yeah.
it goes
Goes
on
on
and on.
and on.
Somebody started making it, and whatever. So they end up all in traction, all in various states of injuries
And groaning and moaning
yeah.
and
Chief of detectives is there with him, and he's like, oh, they're like, oh, what? He's like, I'll never laugh at anything again. And I love this joke because it is in some ways the strongest part of this movie. So you see,
there's good payoff.
yeah, it absolutely, like, one of the guys has eating banana and flips the banana peel on the ground, and you're just like, oh, they're not going to do this, are they?
I'm indignant at this point. You see women marching in like the Hocus Pocus witches, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that better be for the mother-in-law.
And it was. So she finally gets it. She slips on it, and everyone laughs.
And they put her on a stretcher.
Yep. So for the first time, I think you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. The first time in this movie, Spencer Tracy's character actually smiles and laughs. You don't see him smile and laugh through this whole movie. There is no funny business from his face.
No.
From start to this point in this movie. And so everyone's laughing because they're just getting they know how terrible she is.
Yeah.
And he finally cracks a smile and laughs. And that's the end of the movie. And then
Yep.
they put her on her stretcher. She's like, I'm
But
like,
you couldn't do that today.
yeah, no, that wouldn't work. So yeah, he laughs finally, and that's the end of the movie. 2.5 plus 3, nearly 3 hours long.
That was my head hitting the microphone. I don't know if you heard that.
I did. And I was like, what was
That
that?
was my head.
Okay.
That's so long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go around the table and talk about how we feel about the movie, given a rating between 1 and 10. I will say I had forgotten a lot of this movie. I had forgotten a lot of the details. I forgot about Don Knotts. I love Don Knotts. And I forgot about some of the humor and some of the moments in this movie. It's hard because it's definitely a film of its time. It definitely is you look through a lens of 1963. It's got a lot of jeez.
There was a G chord that time.
So it's definitely, I mean, if it's comparable to Rat Race because Rat Race had a lot of big actors and actresses in the
yeah.
movie. It has in Rat Race. It has more, obviously a lot more. So I mean, I would give it like a solid 7.5, 8.0. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
You
the
did.
humor. I really laughed
Like a
a
little
lot.
kid, eyes sparkling, laughing.
I kept up, but there's some moments where it's just like, okay, I don't know how I feel that. And I come back to that moment with Rochester in the arms of Lincoln that really pulled that movie down for me. Like I don't often blame a movie for its time. Like I don't say, okay, well, they should have known. It might have been funny in 1963 to some folks. And again, Rochester's the actor who was playing it may have thought it was fine and had no issue. I don't know.
Hopefully they asked.
But it felt very much like, of all of the sight gags in this movie, that one was just like, okay, no, that's not how that works. So it hits like an 8.0. It loses 2 points for that. And I know that's a lot to take from a movie, but I can't not be real about that. All right, let's go to Phil.
For me, it's like a 7.
Okay.
Maybe,
I'm not even mad about that.
Maybe even like a 6.5.
Okay.
But I'm gonna be nice to give it a 7. For me, it was. I can only do the slapstick.
Yeah.
The Three Stooges
Yeah.
type humor for so long.
Yeah.
Like for the first half of the movie, Zoe and I are laughing. It was a good time.
Yeah.
But then I realized like I just wasn't laughing anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And then like whenever it got to where they're like searching for the big W,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, guys, you're just
Yeah.
You're
this
stalling
it's
now.
getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like we know where it is, and they don't find it for like another 10 hours.
10 hours, literally.
10 minutes.
What felt
Felt like
a
10
long time.
hours.
But was in reality like real life 10 minutes of them just running around. It was the same thing with like the car chase that you like. It was just entirely too long. The staircase at the end was just way too long, and then the fire truck flinging them all over the place. I was like, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
And like you said with the statue thing, for me it's like a 7. It's just if it would have been 45 minutes to an hour shorter, I probably would have been better for me. It's just I lost interest in it like halfway through. So
Yeah. No, and I'm not going to protest that. Like sometimes I'll like come after you guys and be like, you gotta. But this movie,
And there are movies like
your
Lord of the
opinion
Rings that are
is
supposed to be
wrong.
long.
yeah. In this case, it's valid. Like it's a flawed film by any definition. There's going to be those moments. In this movie, definitely, the things that it could have really kind of held back from it didn't really, and it just kind of feels. There's moments where it just feels like we're doing a scene a bit too much. The bit has gone too long. We should have cut it a little bit shorter.
Right.
All right, Vicki.
I agree. 7 is what I would give it. If I were to watch it again, and I would be open to watching it again, what I would do is at the intermission, I'd stop and I'd watch part 2 another day.
Yeah.
And see what I thought after that, because I feel like you need that break.
Yeah.
I suggested to Zoe that we do that, but she was like, "No, let's keep doing it," because we watched it yesterday,
Oh yeah.
and then today we watched Rat Race. So
Yeah. I think it might have been different because, again, that intermission, again, like I said, they would have had a 15 to 20 minute intermission where you went out and did restrooms and did snacks and stuff, and you came back in and it started up again. And that may have, I don't know if it would have improved your viewing. I don't know. I may have made it worse because you would just been like, okay, really? Oh. Zoe. If you want to go negative points, you can go negative points. I ain't going to be mad about it.
I'll give it a 6.5, and I'm going to give it a 6.5 because the Three Stooges were in it for 5 seconds. Because that made
Okay, so if we remove the Three Stooges, what do we get?
it would have been 6.
Okay.
But honestly, it's just about the length.
Yeah.
Because it is a good, solid movie. There are funny parts.
Yeah.
And it's clever.
But like thinking back to Rat Race, which it's almost 2 hours, but it's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just more fast paced,
and
you
the
can like
humor is entirely different.
and you
Yes.
can, I don't know. I feel like you can just keep up with it better. Because like when you were reading through your notes, I'm like, oh my god, it really is like back and forth. and
Yeah.
Back and forth.
So,
I'm glad you
that
took
was
notes.
the problem with tracking the plot, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so we move quickly
Yeah.
between the moments, and you're just like, I know why it does that because it helps split it up and it helps the pacing. But as a viewer, you're trying to keep track of it all, and it's even for like me I love to watch movies to pick them apart. I was like having trouble being like, okay, I can't write down all this stuff because we're moving so quickly and I can't keep track of it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's the guitar string again.
And to be fair, Rat Race does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just the things that those characters individually go through are so much vastly different from each other.
Yeah.
Like, we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a thing. I wish that there are moments in the movie that I wish they would have cut, but they didn't. So here we are. Okay, so next week it's a guarantee, promise, locked and loaded, secured, reserved.
I'm gonna put it on the
RSVP'd.
It's
It's on
3 o'clock Saturday.
it's
We're
on the
watching
schedule.
it.
We are watching Grave of the
I
Fireflies.
know we've been talking about it.
Finally,
We're
we'll
gonna
do it, and we'll probably watch it, and then we'll record that same night because there's no way that
Yeah. And I'm voting that while we watch it, we do like chocolate. Just feel good, and then we have pizza afterward.
Yeah.
We're gonna
we'll
need
figure it out. So that'll be what's up on the next episode you hear from us. Outside of that, we don't know what else we're doing. Well, we're doing Godzilla -0 at some point,
Yeah.
And we got to do Rat Race.
and Rat Race is coming up. So there's a full.
There was something else too.
Oh, what were we talking?
Are you talking about what Vicki sent?
Oh yeah, Inside Out too.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, we could maybe do that.
Because
The
that's
thing
coming
is,
out
I just really don't like going to theaters, guys. I want to sit at home and watch my movies.
Okay.
I like,
But it won't
I
be
like
a
to
3-hour
pause
movie.
and
It'll be probably like an hour and a half. Or
Yeah.
something.
So
I like
we'll,
to pause, go to the bathroom, take a little break, and
we'll work on Inside Out too. We'll see what the schedule will hold with that. But outside of that, this has been Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron,
I'm Phil.
And Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
and we will see you on the next one. Thanks for listening. And I guess here's the question before we finally sign off here: would you recommend people watch this, Zoe?
Why are you looking at me?
Because I went the other way the other
Oh
time.
my gosh. Yes, you should at least watch it one time.
Okay.
Yes.
I agree. Watch it, but take that intermission break.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
If you don't take a day, then at least give yourself like 10 minutes.
Oh, have snacks.
Yeah.
We did not have snacks because we were not
So
prepared.
Actually,
James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, AVGN, this is his favorite movie.
I like him already.
Watch his stuff on Cinemassacre.
You would really like him.
I've watched him a little bit. Yeah, I've watched his stuff.
I love his because he used to do in October. He still does, but Monster Madness, where he review he started off doing the old Hammer films and
Yeah.
gosh, that's a tradition for me every October to go and watch Monster Madness. But yeah, it's his favorite movie. So some people out there really, 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 really love it.
It's a mad world that
Yeah,
they
it
really
is.
like, apparently. All right, on that note, now that we've had a nice segue from the title of the movie to Phil's final almost word, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening. Peace out. Word to your mother goose and all that business.
Word to your mother. Bye.
The raspberry flapovers will be out in a moment. The kitchen is closed.
You've been listening to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, a language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.